I am Pastor John Hildebrand. We're going to continue our Bible study. This is lesson number 6. In previous lessons, we have covered the different beasts in the Old Testament. We've brought out different points, and I know we're leaving out a lot of detail. If we wanted to cover this thoroughly, we would have to study hours upon hours. There's a lot of studying in all of this. In the last lesson, we covered beast number 5, which is the first beast in the New Testament. And in this lesson, we want to cover beast number 6, which we find in the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Verse 2, And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, in his feet as the feet of a bear, in his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, his seat, and great authority. Now I want to make several points here. We are going to be covering beast number 6, which is this beast right here. Now in this verse helps us to understand several things which are very important, several points. One is, we see that the Revelation connects the beast to the book of Daniel. We know that there were at least 5 beasts. There was 5 beasts before this beast in Revelation 13. How do we know that? Well, because when John sees this beast, he says it's like a leopard, which is the 3rd one in Daniel. His feet, the feet of a bear, which is the 2nd one in Daniel. His mouth as the mouth of a lion, which is the 1st one in Daniel. And he got his seat and his authority from the dragon. So we know that this beast, that all these beasts came before this beast. That's very obvious, because when John sees this one, he starts describing and showing us that he got his authority, and it looked like these different beasts. And it also clearly shows us that no matter which beast you are talking about, which beast we see, it's always the same beast. It's always connected to the same lineage. It's always connected to the same beast in the serpent in Genesis chapter 2. Also, when we read the book of Revelation, another very important point, which we will talk about more at a later time, we see in the book of Revelation, for example, we covered the 5th beast the last time, which is Judaic heathenism, which was ready to devour the man-child, which is the church. In the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, we still very clearly see 2 seeds, the very same seeds that we see in Genesis chapter 3, the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. So when we read about the woman in Revelation chapter 12, and we read about the dragon, it's actually showing Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. It's just further down in history. Now, when we read in the New Testament, we read about Paul, Peter, and John. All 3 of them clearly showed and prophesied that there would come a falling away after their time. And we know that the time period that they lived in, the Bible describes that as a burning mountain. The church was on fire. And we also know that the church, the mountain was cast into the sea, which shows an apostasy that sat in after the morning time church, after the apostles' time. And so, approximately from the year 270 to 1530, we have the time period that we know as popery. And in this time period, we have a different beast again, because we have a different body of people, and yet, again, the same, it's connected to the same root, to the same lineage, all the way back. Because when we read about this beast, John clearly shows us that this beast is like all the beasts before it. When we read on in the book of Revelation, in chapter 13, verse 11, there we see beast number 7. Again, we know in the 1530s, if you know a little history, we know that history again shifted during this time. This is the time of the Reformation. And again, in this time period, we see that history, there was a total shift in history. And the Bible describes the 7th beast in Revelation 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb. Now listen to this last part. And he spake as a dragon. This beast connects to all these other beasts. And it's interesting. This beast, it says, this beast spake like the dragon, which again very clearly shows that they're all connected. So when we look at this symbol right here and we read these different verses, we know that doesn't matter which head you're talking about, it's always connected to the same thing. All right, so we have covered the 8 different beasts. Again, I want to repeat something just so it will burn into our minds. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beasts. No matter which beast you look at, it's just the body of unbelievers in different time periods. Who is the beast? Every unbeliever, which is always spearheaded by the kings of the earth. Just like during this time, it was spearheaded by the king Nebuchadnezzar. And so in every time period, there are kings that are the main drivers or the motivators of these different systems. So, and we have that in different time periods. So all the way from the beginning, we have these different time periods and these different beasts. So I think by looking at what I just brought out through these lessons, I think we understand that when we look at the beasts, we always read about different beasts, and yet they're all the same. And then we read about the last beast, which is the 8th beast, which is this one right here, which we find in the book of Revelation in chapter number 17. And I want to read that again. In verse 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7. Or this is a combination of all the beasts that were before it. So see, we see the lion, we see the bear, we see the leopard, we see the dreadful and terrible, we see the dragon, we see the beast in Revelation 13, and we see the beast in Revelation 13, the 2 in Revelation 13. So we see the 7 heads, we see the 10 horns. And this is the completion of the beast. We see in the book of Daniel, we see the different beasts coming up out of the water. In the Revelation, we see a beast coming out of the water. Here we see the beast completely out of the water. So what is this? This is the embodiment of all evil. This is the embodiment of everything that has ever been. This is the ripeness. This is the completion of Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. So when Genesis 3, verse 15 was written, it talked about a little seed. In Revelation chapter 17, verse 11, you see the full-grown seed. It's like when you look at let's say you take a corn seed and you plant it into the ground. At that point, you do not know how tall, how many leaves, and what it will exactly look like if you had never seen it before. That's exactly what happened here. Way back then, there was a prophecy given about a seed. And in the book of Revelation, we see it full grown. So this is the 8th beast. This is the last beast. This is the last move of Satan that we are dealing with. This is everything that we see nowadays. We see every wrong. We see every sin. We see every lie. We see everything that has ever gone wrong in the world. We see it inside of this beast right here. And this is what the church is facing today. We are facing this. Sometimes people read news and they look at the news and they read different things that has happened through history and they read things that are happening today. This is the fulfillment. This is the last move of Satan. This is the last beast. There is no beast number 9. Beast number 8 is the last one. So we are dealing with this entity right here. Now, we have briefly, very briefly, just touched upon a few points as we walk through history but I'm hoping that at least this can help you to know where the beasts belong, and when you read about a beast, what those beasts are. It's simply a body of people that behave in a beastly manner in different time periods. And now we live in the time period where all sin is embodied in the eighth beast. May God bless you. We're going to go and study the seed of the woman, which is the New Testament, the Old Testament, all the way through the Old Testament, New Testament. We're going to study the church. So may God bless you with this as you read. I'm really hoping this will help you get an appetite to want to know the Bible and know what it's talking about. May God bless you.